Let's dive straight into absolute chaos, shall we? We are stepping into a scenario right now that completely shatters literally everything we thought we knew about our favorite friendly neighborhood hero. I want to focus entirely on the central, deeply terrifying theme that's unfolding here. Basically, Peter Parker is suddenly violently losing control of his own mind and body. This isn't just about him facing down some random new enemy in the streets. This is about a devastating internal collapse. We are witnessing a fundamental, ground-up shift in his identity. The measured, calculated, always holding back hero we know and love, he's being replaced by something wildly unpredictable, and honestly, it is terrifying to watch. Right out of the gate, we see Spider-Man swinging in, but something is incredibly wrong. Instead of his perfect, graceful, trademark acrobatics, he crashes violently into a boat, specifically one belonging to Jen's Pizza. Down below all of this, Scorpion is holding Department of Damage Control agents hostage. Scorpion lashes out, attacking with his mechanical tail, and Peter completely fails to dodge it. Think about that for a second. His spider sense, those deeply ingrained instincts that have saved his life a million times over, are just not functioning at all. But notice the absolutely crucial detail here. In this really tight, claustrophobic point of view shot from inside the mask, his eyes suddenly turn completely, terrifyingly black. The exact moment that darkness takes over, a horrifying new aggression sets in. He grabs Scorpion right by the throat, slams him into the concrete with brutal force, and hurls him into a moving vehicle. Remember, Spider-Man always holds back. Always. He does it to avoid crushing his enemies. So this new ruthless aggression tells us that the restraint we rely on is just gone entirely. So moving into part 1, the evolution of Spider-Man. Let's look at this terrifying mutation. We really have to ask ourselves what exactly is happening to his body right now. What we are witnessing is a total loss of bodily autonomy. It's essentially a highly chaotic, wildly inconvenient case of, spider puberty. He is evolving, sure, but not in a way he can manage or understand. We watch as Peter desperately tries to attach his traditional mechanical web shooters, but out of nowhere, organic webs violently burst directly from his wrists, knocking the mechanical shooters completely away. Now, on paper, sure, biological webbing sounds great. It means never running out of ammo mid-fight, right? But the drawback here is absolute humiliation and real danger in his daily life. We see him involuntarily sticking to city pigeons, awkwardly face-planting into water towers, and completely ruining a formal wedding celebration. And while these might sound like funny little mishaps, they're really not. They highlight his absolute terrifying lack of control over his own physical form. He is a passenger in his own body. Which brings us to part 2. Banner and the Inhibitor. Seeking out a cure. So, realizing his condition is rapidly deteriorating, Peter desperately seeks out the literally one man on the planet who truly understands what it's like to live with an unpredictable monster growing inside his own body. We're talking about Bruce Banner, of course. Bruce introduces Peter to the Inhibitor device. This is some highly advanced tech specifically designed to suppress the darkest, most uncontrollable aspects of a mutation, like the Hulk's world-breaking rage, while still allowing the subject to miraculously retain their enhanced beneficial abilities. Peter has this incredibly naive desire here, right? He basically wants to surgically separate the beneficial parts of his evolution from that terrifying aggression we just saw him unleash against Scorpion. He wants the power, absolutely, but he desperately wants to lock the monster away in a neat little box. But Bruce understands this internal struggle better than anyone alive. For years, the Hulk was a devastating curse to him, yet that exact same uncontrollable rage has literally saved the world multiple times. So it brings us to a really dark, uncomfortable reality. Right now, whenever Spider-Man loses control in combat, whenever those eyes go pitch black, he actually becomes a far more effective, brutal, and efficient fighter. It totally begs the question, who gets to decide which parts of our fundamental nature are good and which are bad? Is losing control actually a curse, or is it a necessary tactical advantage when the stakes are this high? That takes us to part 3, a mind-controlling new threat. A hidden enemy emerges. While Peter is deeply wrestling with these internal demons, the external stakes of the world around him completely change. We are introduced to the Department of Damage Control Director, William Metzger. Now, historically, we know the DODC hunts vigilantes. That's their whole thing. But here is the massive twist. His heavily armed agents are actually fighting alongside Spider-Man. They form this incredibly desperate alliance. Metzger realizes that this new mind-controlling entity they are up against is a threat unlike anything humanity has ever faced. It's an enemy they can't punch, it's an enemy they can't arrest, and honestly, worse than all of that, it's an enemy they can't even see. Why? Because it hides seamlessly behind the faces of everyday citizens. anyone could be the enemy. The sheer scale of this threat is just staggering. Operating directly from Peter Parker's own apartment building, of all places, this mysterious, hooded villain is treating the citizens of New York like literal puppets on strings. She unleashes this massive, sweeping energy wave across the entire city. It visually looks like a massive bomb just went off in the middle of Manhattan, but it's purely neurological. This invisible wave washes right through the crowds, and instantly, just snap of the fingers, thousands of innocent civilians are completely paralyzed. They freeze right in place, their minds entirely hijacked, completely stripped of their free will and autonomy. It's a terrifying display of power. Let's move to part 4, The Punisher Protects MJ. Frank Castle steps up. In the direct aftermath of that massive wave, we get one of the most eerie, hauntingly cinematic moments imaginable. Frank Castle, the Punisher, is calmly walking through this completely frozen, paralyzed crowd of New Yorkers. He, along with Peter, is somehow completely immune to the mind control. Now, realizing she absolutely cannot hack into Spider-Man's brain, the villain immediately pivots her strategy to devastating psychological warfare. She taunts him, asking, "Have you managed to escape the monster inside you yet?" She is closely watching him. She sees his fading control. She knows about his black eyes, and she uses his own absolute deepest fears against him. And then she targets the one thing he values way more than his own life, MJ. The absolute second MJ is threatened, this massive hidden war becomes deeply, deeply personal. Knowing his own mind is currently fracturing, and knowing this villain can literally take over almost anyone else on the street, Peter makes an incredibly unusual, incredibly desperate choice. He takes MJ and leaves her in the lethal, uncompromising, but fiercely reliable protection of Frank Castle. Think about how crazy that is. Peter absolutely does not agree with the Punisher's violent, lethal methods, but he knows Frank's mind cannot be hacked. And more importantly, he knows Frank will let absolutely nothing on this earth harm her. Meanwhile, as if things weren't stressful enough, the narrative cuts to another net slowly closing in on Peter, Ned's independent investigation board. And it is terrifyingly accurate. Ned has narrowed Spider-Man down to a male, aged 18 to 25, originating specifically from Queens. He has somehow calculated Spider-Man's exact height down to the literal inch, and he's pinpointed his very first public appearance to the year 2016. It is chilling to see. His absolute best friend in the world is mere steps away from unraveling the greatest, most dangerous secret of his entire life, and Peter can't say a single word to stop him without giving it all away. All of this crushing pressure culminates in a deeply heartbreaking party scene. Peter stands awkwardly off in the corner, just silently watching Ned and MJ interact with each other. They have absolutely no memory of who he is. They look at him with this polite, distant confusion, like he's a total stranger off the street. It's just gut-wrenching. As a crushing reminder of the entire life he willingly sacrificed, the timeless wisdom of Aunt May echoes in his mind. The people who love you because you're you. Never forget that. It's his only anchor right now. It's a desperate reminder to hold on to his humanity as his own changing body and the entire world around him desperately try to strip it away. Which launches us into part 5, Savage Hulk is unleashed. The inhibitor fails. The villain, completely desperate to stop Spider-Man from tracking her down, targets Bruce Banner directly, violently shutting down his inhibitor device. The very technology Peter was hoping would save his own soul triggers a literal world-shaking catastrophe. What emerges from Bruce is unadulterated terror. We are not talking about the measured, calculating, selfie-taking smart Hulk here. This is the Savage Hulk, the absolute purest, most uncontrollable, and deeply enraged version of the monster. And notice how this massive, unrestrained beast serves as a direct, terrifying physical reflection of exactly what Peter Parker is terrified he is about to become. We watch Peter desperately evade these earth-shattering attacks, narrowly dodging a devastating Hulk clap that completely levels the surrounding environment. He is literally dodging for his life. He has to use every single ounce of his mutating, unpredictable agility just to survive the onslaught. This colossal physical battle is such a brilliant, violent mirror for Peter's inner demons. Every single time the Hulk wildly smashes his surroundings, Peter is forced to look at the exact dark, destructive future he is desperately trying to avoid for himself. And that intense battle leads us to a deeply unsettling cinematic clue. We get this highly mysterious, very brief shot of Peter falling endlessly through the city in a dark hoodie, looking completely detached from reality. When you start connecting these dots, these frightening blackouts, the sudden, brutal, uncharacteristic aggression against Scorpion, and those completely blackened eyes inside the mask, we really have to ask the big question, is the Venom symbiote already here? It might already be silently fusing with his mind and his nervous system right under our noses, driving this uncontrollable dark evolution from the inside out. As the city literally burns and the absolute chaos peaks, the action actually pauses for this incredibly powerful, surprisingly quiet moment. MJ looks sharply at Frank Castle and asks him, "You're really going to let him go alone?" Think about the weight of that. Even with her memories of Peter Parker entirely erased from her mind, deep down in her core, her profound instinctual trust in Spider-Man remains fully intact. It's a beautiful, grounding emotional anchor that perfectly sets the stage for a massive, unprecedented team-up to take back New York City. We then transition straight into a breathtaking, high-stakes climax against a horde of highly trained ninjas who are armed with these advanced electrical weapons. During the brutal, frantic crossfire of this fight, Peter is physically unmasked by his enemies. His absolute greatest secret is violently exposed right in the heat of combat. Yet, despite his face being completely bare to the world, despite his powers mutating chaotically out of his control, and despite his mind fracturing under the weight of this hidden enemy, he just keeps relentlessly pushing forward. He doesn't stop. And that brings us to the ultimate overarching question of this whole ordeal. Who is Peter Parker without perfect control? Right in the dead middle of this apocalyptic chaos, we're talking the Savage Hulk destroying blocks, a mind control wave enslaving the city, getting unmasked by ninjas, we see Peter awkwardly stretching his muscles, dropping a classic self-deprecating joke before diving right back into the lethal fray. It proves something absolutely vital. It proves that beneath the terrifying mutations, beneath the potential symbiote's dark influence and the sheer unending chaos, the deeply human, highly relatable, and stubbornly resilient core of Spider-Man remains beautifully intact. So I leave you with this final thought to ponder. If our darkest, most uncontrollable mutations actually give us the strength we need to save the world, at what point does the hero end and the monster truly begin?